When you think of a medieval knight, you probably picture a hero in shining armor, right? A champion of good, sworn to protect everyone. To understand how big this scandal was, you first have to see how perfect these knights were supposed to be. The code of chivalry made knights into superheroes, warriors who feared God, served their lords, and defended the helpless. This was their public image, full of discipline and huge ceremonies. Knights swore oaths on actual holy relics, like a saint's bone or a piece of the cross, and they believed that breaking that oath meant being damned forever. The church told them that fighting for Christendom was God's will. This created a new kind of knightly piety, where a warrior's devotion to God was seen as just as serious as a monk's. They were called Knights of Christ, a new breed of warrior monk who took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And no one seemed to be better at this than the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, or as you know them, the Knights Templar. They were the most famous, wealthiest, and most trusted military order in the world. But that trust and their insane level of secrecy would become their greatest weakness. Officially, the Templars were perfect Christians, but for centuries, there were whispers. Their massive wealth, their incredible power, and especially their secrecy made people suspicious. What was really happening behind the locked doors of their fortresses? To find the first clue, you have to forget the hero stories and see the medieval world for what it was, a place completely obsessed with superstition. The church was in a constant war against paganism and magic. Church documents from the time list all kinds of forbidden acts, like using spells to steal your neighbor's honey or making vows to trees. People believed this stuff was literally demonic. The Templars weren't just soldiers. They were known for their unique rituals and their obsession with sacred geometry, which you could see in their circular churches. Rumors started flying that they were guarding legendary relics, maybe even the Holy Grail itself. But there were darker whispers too. People said the Templar initiation was so secret and so shocking, it bound a new member to the order for life. It's this rumor of a secret ceremony that their enemies would use as a weapon, turning the most respected knights in Europe into monsters. Okay, so imagine this. You're a young nobleman, you're full of faith, and you're ready to join the legendary Templars. You expect a holy ceremony, but instead, they lead you into a dark, locked room. And here, in the middle of the night, the real initiation supposedly began. This is the forbidden ritual the Templars were accused of, and after brutal torture, many of them confessed to the horrifying details. We know these confessions were forced, but the stories were all shockingly similar. First, the new recruit was shown a crucifix and ordered to deny Jesus Christ, and then spit on it. For a medieval person, this was spiritual suicide, an act that would cut him off from the entire world and bind him to the order through shared guilt. Next came the obscene kisses. The recruit had to kiss the master on the mouth, the navel, and this is so bizarre, at the base of the spine. While some people think this was some kind of strange spiritual practice, the church investigators called it pure evil. Finally, there was the idol. In the dark, some Templars confessed to worshipping a mysterious head they called Baphomet. The descriptions were all over the place. Some said it was a mummified human head, others said it had 3 faces, and some even said it was the head of a cat. Today, most scholars think Baphomet was just a bad French pronunciation of Muhammad or Muhammad. But the image of Christian knights worshipping a demonic head was the final nail in the coffin. It's important to know The famous goat-headed Baphomet we see everywhere today wasn't even drawn until 500 years later by an occultist. But the seeds of that legend were planted right here in these terrifying forced confessions. Denying Christ, obscene kisses, and idol worship. These were the main accusations. Whether they were real or a complete lie made up by torturers, they became the ultimate weapon to destroy the Templars. It's obvious that whether these rituals were real or fake, they had unbelievable power. But that brings up a huge question we're about to answer. Why? Why were knights accused of this, and what made it so powerful? We dig into insane hidden histories just like this on our channel. If you believe history is full of secrets just waiting to be uncovered, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's next. So why would an order of super devout warriors even be connected to a ritual that would damn their souls to hell? The confessions, which were gotten through torture, make them look like heretics. But if we look past that, we can see how this ritual could have been a genius way to keep power. One theory is that the ceremony was a brutal form of psychological conditioning. By forcing a recruit to do something unforgivable like spitting on the cross, the Templars could have guaranteed absolute loyalty. The order would be their only safe place because no one else would ever forgive them. Another idea is that it was a twisted test of obedience. Knights were nobles who were loyal to their families, their king, and the Pope. A shocking order to deny Christ could have been the ultimate test to prove a recruit's loyalty was only to the Grand Master. Then there's the craziest possibility, that some Templars were messing with secret knowledge they found in the Holy Land. These men were at the crossroads of different civilizations, and rumors said they mixed mystical ideas from the East with their own practices. It's important to say, there is no mainstream evidence for this, but it was a powerful rumor. The Templars weren't just warriors. They basically invented international banking and built a financial system that made them unbelievably rich. Maybe the accusations of weird rituals were just a twisted version of their secret, groundbreaking, and powerful business practices. For almost 200 years, the Templars seemed untouchable, but their massive wealth and secrecy made them powerful enemies. And at the top of that list was the King of France, Philip IV. His nickname was Philip the Fair, but he was a paranoid and greedy ruler who owed the Knights Templar a giant amount of money. Philip saw the Templars as a state within a state. They were incredibly rich, powerful, and totally outside his control. The rumors of a forbidden ritual gave him the perfect excuse to attack. On Friday, October 13th, 1307, yes, the original unlucky Friday the 13th, Philip launched a massive, coordinated strike, arresting every single Templar in France, including the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. The charges were heresy, sodomy, and worshipping the idol Baphomet, all based on the so-called secret initiation. What happened next was a campaign of non-stop torture. Knights were stretched on the rack and had their feet burned with fire until they confessed. These forced confessions were exactly what Philip needed to pressure Pope Clement V, who, under the king's control, ordered the arrest of all Templars across Europe. But here's where it gets interesting. In places outside of France where torture wasn't used, like in Ireland and parts of Spain, the knights were usually found innocent. This is a huge clue that the charges were completely made up. In fact, a document found in the Vatican archives in 2001, called the Chin on Parchment, shows that Pope Clement privately forgave the Templar leaders of heresy in 1308. even while he was being forced to condemn them in public. But it was too late. The public scandal was too big, and the king was too greedy. In 1312, the Pope officially dissolved the Knights Templar. Their massive fortune was supposed to go to their rivals, the Knights Hospitaller, but a huge chunk of it ended up with King Philip. In March 1314, Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master, was burned at the stake in Paris, screaming that the order was innocent until the very end. So, did medieval knights really practice a forbidden ritual? When it comes to the Templars, history tells us the charges were almost certainly fake. A disgusting story invented by a king who wanted to get out of debt and steal their power. The Templars' secrecy, once their greatest strength, made them an easy target. The story of a heretical ceremony was more powerful than any army, and yet the legend of that ritual is now more famous than the Templars themselves. It tells us a deeper truth about the medieval world, a world where faith and superstition, power and greed were all tangled together. The knight in shining armor is a cool image, but history is almost never that clean. There are always shadows. The Templar story is a warning for all time that secrecy creates suspicion, and even the most powerful people can be brought down by a well-told lie. The ritual may have been fake, but it was a lie that destroyed an empire, leaving us with one question that still echoes today. How much of what we know about the past is true, and how much is just the story the winners paid for? If you want to keep exploring the craziest hidden stories from history, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.